Let me tell you something. Man, there's a shift that happens deep inside a man when he finally stops talking. And I don't just mean with his mouth. I mean with his energy, his presence, his soul. It's that moment when he realizes no matter how many times he explained, how often he stayed calm, how deeply he poured his heart out, she still didn't get it. Or maybe worse, she got it and simply didn't care. That realization doesn't break him in a weak way. It cracks open a door to freedom. That's the moment he stops fighting to be heard, stops trying to prove he's good enough. He finally accepts that his worth was never the issue. It was her willingness to see it. And that's when silence becomes more than just the absence of noise. It becomes his power, his boundary, its liberation. People get messed up by what they don't expect. She expected the same routine, calls, texts, apologies, efforts. But he didn't do that this time. He didn't chase, disappeared, not with drama, but with dignity, and that silence. It hit differently. She didn't know what to do with it. I knew a guy once his girl ghosted him. No warning, no closure. Instead of crumbling, he cut her off. Deleted her number, blocked her, said absolutely nothing. 4 weeks later, she messaged, "So you're really done?" That wasn't curiosity. That was fear in disguise. Because silence didn't make her feel desired or powerful. It made her feel forgotten. And that's the beginning of the shift. When a man stops speaking to be understood and starts being silent, to be free, he's not running, he's not broken, he's breathing for the first time in a long time. There's a moment every man reaches when he realizes that explaining himself is a waste of breath. That no matter how clearly he speaks, how honestly he opens up, it falls on ears that choose not to hear. And that's when something changes, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You stop explaining who you are to someone who already made the decision not to value you. You stop laying your soul bare, just to be ignored or minimized. Every time you try to make her see what she lost, you're handing her control, putting your power in her hands and asking her to return it. But silence, that's different. Silence says, I know what I bring. I don't need your recognition anymore. And that right there is when everything shifts. Because silence can't be argued with. There's no back and forth, no room. For manipulation, no emotional leverage. It's just stillness. And in that stillness, your strength begins to build. You stop reacting, stop reaching, and something deeper takes root. Peace. That kind of peace is not loud, it's solid, grounded, unshakable. And she feels it, even from a distance. She won't remember the exact words you said in those long, emotional texts. But she will remember how it felt when your name stopped showing up on her screen. When her phone stayed quiet. When the daily presence she took for granted vanished without warning. That absence becomes louder than any voice ever could be. It lives in the moments when she turns to share something and you're not there. It echoes in the song that reminds her of the drive home with you next to her. It's not logic that haunts. Hurt's presence removed. And once she feels that silence, really feels it, it starts to speak the truth she refused to hear from your lips. We've been told that if you really love someone, you should never give up. That you should fight, even when it hurts. That real love means sticking around through anything. But that's a lie. It's a dangerous one. It's because sometimes love for her becomes abandonment of yourself. Sometimes staying turns into self-destruction. And that's where the truth hits. Walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing that loving someone shouldn't mean tolerating being treated like an option. It shouldn't mean explaining your worth to someone who keeps questioning it. You don't prove value to someone who refused to see it when you were giving your best. You protect your peace by walking, not begging. Choosing not to chase doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough to choose yourself this time. You no longer need her apology, her clarity, or her closure. The silence becomes your line in the sand. It says, I've had enough. And it's not cold, it's powerful. It's the kind of silence that tells the world you're no longer available for confusion, for chaos, for inconsistency. You're not punishing her by leaving, you're respecting yourself enough to stop asking for something she couldn't give. She'll pretend it doesn't matter. She'll laugh louder, post more, act unbothered. But deep down, she's wondering why you haven't reacted. She's checking her phone to see if your name pops up. And when it doesn't, that fear sets in. Not because she lost something she thought was hers, but because she's starting to realize she misjudged you. She thought you'd always be there no matter what. But you're not just silent, you're gone, and that difference, that shakes her more than anything you could have said, because now she knows you didn't leave to hurt her, left to heal you. When a man goes quiet, he becomes something she can't predict. And that's what truly unsettles her. She's used to chaos. She understands yelling, crying, arguments. She's prepared for that. She knows how to control it, respond to it, even manipulate it. But silence. Silence is foreign. It's the one reaction she can't decode, and that's what makes it powerful. You're no longer playing the same emotional game. You're no longer showing your cards. Now she doesn't know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, or what. Your next move is on that confusion is where your strength grows. There was a guy I knew who used to chase. Always the first to check in, to apologize, to show up. She had him figured out, or so she thought, till one day he just stopped. No warning, no dramatic exit. He just didn't text back. Didn't view her stories. Didn't show up where she expected him. Chose stillness over noise, and that shift made her spiral. She started asking mutual friends about him, started circling around the places she knew he went. That's the thing people chase, what they don't understand. And a man who goes quiet without bitterness or revenge becomes a mystery, a puzzle. Without edges, but here's what's even more important. The silence wasn't about her. It was about him reclaiming his identity. He stopped seeking her validation and started rediscovering his own path. He hit the gym, picked up new goals, found clarity. His life didn't end when she left, it began. And that rebirth, that new energy, it radiated, spoke louder than any "I'm done" ever could. She felt the shift in the air. And suddenly, the man she thought she'd always have waiting in the background had become someone she couldn't even reach. When you go silent, something profound happens, not just to her, but to you. The noise stops, and all that remains is truth. Without your voice in her life, she's left to face herself. There's no more distraction, no more emotional safety net. She can't hide behind your patience, your kindness, or your ability to carry the weight of her indecision. Now it's just her in the mirror. And that reflection, it's not so easy to face anymore. Because for the first time, she has to sit with the consequences of everything she did, everything she ignored, everything she took for granted. Your silence forces her to confront the damage, not just the drama. She thought you'd always be there. That no matter how far she pushed, you'd pull her back. That your heart was something she could return to when it was convenient. When you stop waiting, when you stop watching from the shadows, she starts to panic. At first, she'll pretend she's fine. She'll laugh louder, pose happier, flirt harder. But all of that is smoke. It's not Passette's noise designed to get your attention. It's when it doesn't work. That's when fear sets in. Not because you're angry, but because you're calm. Because you're actually gone. And now. She remembers you not through messages or calls, but through the absence that lingers. The empty space where your love used to live. That silence builds a legacy. One she can't forget. You didn't storm out. You didn't explode. You disappeared with grace, with peace, with strength, and that kind of exit lives longer in her mind than any fight ever could. He didn't just leave you elevated. And that silence, it became your voice. The kind she can still hear long after you've stopped speaking.